All right, so today we're diving deep into a world that most of us, let's face it, can only dream of high finance. But this is no ordinary story about Wall Street.
Right. This is about Nicolai Tangen.
Exactly. This guy, he's the CEO of Norges Bank Investment Management. Now, that might not sound familiar, but they're the folks who manage something called the Government Pension Fund Global, or GPFG.
And the GPFG just happens to be the world's biggest sovereign wealth fund. We're talking over $1 trillion.
$1 trillion. Seriously. That's like winning the lottery every single day for a whole year. Okay, so maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but you get the point. So before we get lost in all the zeros, could you break down what a sovereign wealth fund actually is? I mean, I think most people have a general idea, but let's get specific.
Sure. Think of it as a nation setting aside a huge pot of money, often from things like oil or other natural resources. Then they invest that money for the long haul.
Like a giant national savings account.
Kind of, yeah, but way more sophisticated. In Norway's case, their oil and gas industry is so successful that they've built up this gigantic fund, the GPFG.
So it's not just about making money. It's about, managing this wealth for future generations of Norwegians.
Exactly. It's about ensuring that the current prosperity benefits not only them, but also their children and grandchildren and so on.
Now that's thinking big. Talk about responsibility.
And that brings us back to Tangen, the guy at the helm of this whole operation. He's responsible for making sure that $1 trillion grew steadily and sustainably.
No pressure, right. But honestly, $1 trillion, how do you even wrap your head around that kind of responsibility?
Well, maybe that's where Tangen's unique background comes in. This guy isn't your stereotypical finance bro. He's got degrees in art history and social psychology.
Art history, wait, so he's like analyzing Renaissance paintings and then making billion-dollar investment decisions.
Not quite, but he does believe that understanding history and cultural trends is crucial for predicting how the world and therefore the markets are going to change.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess everything is connected, right?
Yeah.
So how did that play into his actual investment strategy?
Tangen's big on what he calls stable, sustainable returns. He wants consistent growth over time, but he's also super aware of the environmental and social impact of his investments.
So he's not just chasing quick profits. He's thinking about the long game.
Absolutely. He's thinking about the health of the fund, the planet, future generations, the whole picture.
And then there's that other concept he talks about, universal ownership. What's that all about?
That's pretty fascinating. Tangen advocates for owning a tiny piece of almost every company around the world. Imagine the ultimate diversified portfolio.
Yeah, like having a finger in every pie.
Precisely. By spreading their investments across the globe, they aim to reduce risks. If one sector or region struggles, another is likely to perform well, keeping the fund stable.
Smart. But let's be real, the world is a crazy place right now. Geopolitical risks, market swings, you name it. How on earth does he make investment decisions with all that going on?
Well, they have a whole team of experts, analysts, and economists who are constantly assessing opportunities and risks using incredibly sophisticated data analysis and economic models.
So it's like a giant game of chess, anticipating global moves and planning for the long term.
Exactly. And all while keeping sustainability in mind, which is obviously a huge passion for Tangen. Look at his work with the AKO Foundation.
Yeah, that's a great example of how he puts his money where his mouth is. Could you tell us a little more about the AKO Foundation?
Sure. It's Tangen's own philanthropic organization focused on education, the arts, and environmental sustainability.
It really shows that he's not just about making money. He's actually trying to use his wealth to make a real difference in the world.
Yeah, I think so. It's inspiring.
Okay, so we've talked about his investment philosophy, his commitment to sustainability, but what about his leadership style? Leading a team responsible for $1 trillion can't be easy.
It can't. From what we know, he's very collaborative and believes in open communication. He wants his team to feel empowered to learn and to contribute their ideas.
So he's not a micromanager, more like a facilitator.
I think that's a fair assessment. He wants to foster an environment where everyone's working together towards a shared vision.
That's a valuable lesson for anyone, no matter what field you're in.
Absolutely. Leading by empowering, encouraging collaboration.
So there you have it, folks. Nicolai Tangen, the art history buff, who manages a $1 trillion fund with a focus on sustainability and a collaborative leadership style.
It really challenges the stereotype of what a finance leader looks like, doesn't it?
For sure. He's proving that you can be financially successful while also being mindful of the bigger picture.
And that's a pretty powerful message.
It definitely makes you think. If you were suddenly in charge of $1 trillion, What would be your top priorities? What kind of world would you want to build?
That's a good question to ponder.
It is. And that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.